IELTS true, false, not given questions in the reading section appear in both the academic and general IELTS, and these questions are often the most challenging for candidates, resulting in a one-band difference of a band 5.5 instead of a 6.5 or higher. I'm here to explain the most effective strategy to solve these questions quickly and accurately using a sample reading passage taken from our online course about tigers. Let's begin. In most cases, IELTS candidates attempt to solve true, false, not given questions by skimming and scanning for key words. This is simply ineffective because the words in the questions are paraphrased, meaning they use synonyms, descriptions, expressions, which are virtually impossible for the eyes to catch quickly. And of course, not given statements are simply not in the passage. This is when examiners see the candidates rustling the paper, flipping pages back and forth, frantically looking for the answers. Ironically, students think that skimming and scanning is faster, but in fact it is slower. A lot of time is wasted searching instead of looking at the text strategically and solving these questions effectively. Let's look at the correct strategy now. In this passage about tigers, animals of different stripes, we have 5 yes, no, not given questions, which are basically the same as true, false, not given questions. Just make sure to pay attention and write YNNG instead of TFNG in the answer sheets. Now, the first instinct of many candidates would be to read these questions before the passage. This is unnecessary, simply because false and not given statements will become confusing for the reader. The human mind is not a linear machine. It jumps around in time. Therefore, it's impossible to remember what information came before and after the passage once the candidate goes through the passage and the questions. Therefore, step 1 for true, false, not given is to simply leave the questions until you have finished reading the passage. Now, if you can read the passage in 10 minutes or less and understand at least 70% of the content, you are on the right path to getting a band 7 or more, and you will have enough time to answer the questions. Let me show you. Let's read this passage together now about these beautiful beasts, imagining that we are zoologists observing these tigers in their natural habitats. Animals of different stripes. The Siberian and Bengal tigers are 2 of the most well-known types of tigers. These tigers are very similar. In fact, they come from the same species, but they do have some important differences. These similarities and differences, while interesting to note, are vital pieces of information for the people in charge of the conservation of endangered species of tigers. Wildlife conservationists have to tell the difference between the 2 in order to keep accurate counts of respective populations. The first main difference between the 2 tigers is the location of their habitats. The Siberian tiger today lives only in the far northeast part of Russia called Siberia, although it used to live as far west as Western Asia and as far east as parts of Alaska. One of the main reasons Siberian tigers do not live in China anymore is due to widespread illegal hunting there in the past. Bengal tigers live in a warmer, more southern climate. They reside mostly in India, but also in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. Bengal tigers are the most numerous of all tigers, with approximately 1,800 living in the wild worldwide. Siberian tigers, conversely, number only about 200 to 300 in their natural habitats. Both tigers are extremely popular zoo exhibits, which further contributes to the low numbers of both, especially the Siberian tiger. There have been efforts to breed Siberian tigers in captivity, and many of these efforts have been successful. However, the offspring are unfit to live in the wild. At the very least, these efforts allow zoos to maintain their exhibits without taking even more tigers out of the wild population. Siberian tigers, on average, are larger than Bengals. The average weight of a Bengal male is about 220 kilograms, while the weight of a Siberian averages slightly heavier. Amazingly, Siberian tigers can be as large as 320 kilograms. The length of these animals are also different. On average, male Siberian tigers have a nose-to-tail length of 3 meters, while the Bengal's length is slightly shorter. Their tail lengths, interestingly, are the same, averaging about 1 meter. One notable observation is that the further north in the Bengal tiger's habitat, the larger the animals get. The average weight of a tiger in northern India is about 15 kilograms more than ones in southern India, where the average recorded weight is 220 kilograms. Another clear difference between the two tigers is the seasonal growth of a winter coat for the Siberian tiger. Since they live in northern Russia, which is an unforgiving climate in the winter, the ability to endure temperatures well below freezing is essential for survival. Unlike the Bengal tiger, which lives in more equatorial climates around India, where the temperatures are more or less the same year-round, the Siberian lives in a climate where the temperature can vary more than 50 degrees Celsius. Because of this, Siberians grow longer fur in the winter. For example, the fur on the Siberian's back in the summer measures about 16 millimeters, while in winter, this length almost triples. The Bengal tiger has no need for such a long winter coat. The two tigers share many similarities, including diet and reproduction. Being carnivorous, other animals are the food supply for both. The type of animals hunted are various due to the different regions that are home to these tigers. Bengals eat animals such as wild boar, water buffalo, and chital, while Siberian tigers eat primarily wild boar, deer, and moose. Bengals and Siberians have very similar reproduction cycles. Both tigers reach maturity around 4 years of age, at which time they begin their mating rituals. The females are pregnant for about 15 weeks and give birth to between 1 and 4 cubs. Each of these cubs weighs about a kilogram and will be entirely dependent on their mother for the first 6 months of life. After that time, they begin their learning process where they develop the skills they need to hunt and kill for survival. After 2 or 3 years, the cubs are ready to leave their mother and hunt independently, and at the age of 4 or 5, they reach sexual maturity, and so the cycle continues. One last difference between the two tigers is a significant one, especially for humans. Neither tiger hunts humans as part of their normal diet, but one of the two tigers is known to be a man-eater. The Bengal tiger, under the right circumstances, will eat humans. Bengals will attack humans in 2 cases. First, they will attack humans who interfere with the Bengal's hunting or feeding. Bengal mothers do not take kindly to people when they are feeding their cubs. Also, older Bengals will kill humans for food because humans are easy to eat, unlike wild boar, for example. Human skin is soft and fleshy, perfect for an old tiger with weak muscles and worn-down teeth. Siberians, however, will generally not attack humans unless they feel threatened. As such, records show that Bengal attacks are far more common than Siberian attacks. Now that we have read this, we are ready to look at the questions and apply the perfect strategy for true, false, not given. Are you reading a little bit slower? No problem. Again, if you can read the passage in 10 minutes or less, you are on the right track. Let's look at the questions. The best approach to figuring out these yes, no, not given or true, false, not given questions is by applying simple computer logic, meaning the if this, then that process. Breaking these questions into two steps. Number one, figuring out if they are given or not given. Number two, figuring out if the information is true or false. Take number 19, for example. Both tigers are primarily meat eaters. I need to ask myself, is this information important for this topic? Would I include this if I were to write this passage about tigers? Absolutely. Discussing the eating behaviors of these tigers is vital information. Therefore, it must be given. Now, I have to figure out whether it is true or false. Relying on my own knowledge about tigers, I realize that indeed both of these animals are carnivores, and this is mentioned in the passage. Therefore, I mark it as yes and move on. Are you enjoying this video? Keep in mind, it was edited by Filmies. For quality, cost-effective video editing, whether corporate, education, sports, or family fun videos, make sure to contact Filmies for a quote today. The email address is also in the description below. Oh, and don't forget to join our weekly live IELTS classes on our websites at aehelp.com. Now, on to the rest of the questions. Question 20. The gestation period for female tigers is about 4 years. Now, the collocation gestation period could be challenging for some. However, paying attention to the words that you do know will help you figure out answers. Here, paying attention to female tigers, one can infer that gestation period is the same as pregnancy. Now we ask ourselves, is it important to know how long tigers are pregnant? Again, reproduction is an essential part of understanding a species. Certainly, I would include this in a 2-page article about tigers. Therefore, we can figure out that this is likely given. Now, we just have to understand whether or not this is true. Paying a bit more attention. Female tigers are pregnant for 4 years? That seems unrealistic. Humans are pregnant for 9 months. There's just no way a tiger would be pregnant for 4 years. So here I mark no and move on. Question 21. Young tigers need their mother for survival for the first half year. Again, is it important to understand or know how dependent young tigers are on their mothers? Absolutely. Once again, this is an essential part of the behavior of these tigers, so it should be included, and indeed, it is given. Picking up pace a little bit, and here's where you can see that there's lots of time to answer these questions when you use good logic. You can answer them very quickly, in under half a minute. Now, I can ask myself, is it true that cubs, meaning baby tigers, are dependent on their mother for half a year? If you're searching for half a year, you won't find it, because in the article, this is written as for the first 6 months. Again, this is why skimming and scanning are ineffective. However, good logic does reveal that in fact, the answer here is yes. Now I'm ready for question 22. 22. Killing is a rite of passage which shows a cub is ready to leave its mother. Again, I ask myself, is it important to understand this behavior for this passage comparing the Bengal to the Siberian tiger? Here, my answer is maybe. I'm not sure if I would include this or not. And it is for this type of question where I would go back and look at the passage. Now, I recall that these behaviors or similar were discussed near the end of the passage in this paragraph. However, it is suspicious because this seems to be too much detail for this comparison between the two types of tigers. And indeed, by spending a bit of extra time here, I discover that although killing is mentioned, the author does not state whether this is a rite of passage or not. Therefore, the answer here is not given. True, false, not given, and yes, no, not given questions become progressively more difficult. The first few you should be able to answer without searching the reading passage. It's the last one or two where you will usually need to spend a bit of extra time. Now, let's look at the last yes, no, not given question. Question 23. If a mother gives birth to 1 to 4 cubs, it is common for one not to live past 6 months. Again, I ask myself, would I include this level of detail in this passage comparing different types of tigers, their habitats, and their habits? I would say no in this case for 2 reasons. One is it is too much detail, and the second one, this is often a big hint, is that it's an awkward statement. A tiger giving birth 1 to 4 cubs and one does not live past 6 months? This would logically mean that if the mother gave birth to just 1 cub, that 1 cub would perish. It's awkward information and it's overly detailed information. Therefore, I'm 90% sure that this is not included in the passage. I mark it as not given and I move on to the next questions. When you are 90% sure in your answers, just mark them and only come back to check if you have time remaining at the end of the reading section. Now, for practice purposes, take a look at the remaining questions and the answer keys will be given just after. Did you enjoy this video lesson? To get access to our complete library with over 100 videos for all sections of the IELTS, including original practice exams, a fully interactive course, and an app for your phone, visit and join our premium IELTS package at aehelp.com. Use the code TIGER9 for an additional 10% discount. Click the link in the description below. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are an IDP affiliate, a British Council partner, an IELTS test registration center, and I'm a British Council agent. We have helped thousands of students succeed on their IELTS exams. Just listen to what this candidate has to say.
Hey everyone, this is Aishwarya. So today I'm going to reveal how I scored a 7.5 band with just a week's preparation in my very first attempt. I highly recommend going through Academic English Help YouTube channel as well as the website. Thank you all.
Begin learning for success. Join now. Subscribe to our channel. Click over here. Watch another video. Click right up here. And click our IELTS Hero to join our premium package and get access to all of our videos, practice exams, and a fully interactive course.